Okay, so we'll begin. Welcome, everyone, to the best year ever, 2023. My name is Nicole Christensen. I am the CEO of Care Answered, which provides patient advocacy and care coordination. I am also the author of the book From Crisis to Calm. And I am so excited to be here today with my presenters, part of the Care Answered family, to give you some wonderful tips to make this indeed one of your best years ever. A lot of people talk about how they're going to start new years and resolutions and all that stuff, but I will say it is 2023. We made it thus far, so let's get some tips on how to even make it even better. Um, so without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Alina. And Alina is here to talk about stuff that's more part of our emotional lives and how to just take care of ourselves well. So, Alina R. Haitz is the voice of the everyday working parent that struggles with the ups and downs of life. As a type A personality, always on the move, she struggled with her own sense of mental health and wellness for several years. Through various tools, classes, and mentors, she now practices and teaches about mental wellness in the workplace. Alina has a simple and fun approach to teaching and practicing better self care, self compassion, mindfulness, and overall mental wellness. She is the author of the book of reflections on Mother Nature titled I Am. So I'm very happy to have Alina here again this year, back by popular demand. And I'm so excited to hear what she has for us today. Thanks, Alina.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So great to be here. That's like just a cliche way of coming from an introduction, right? But the question is, how are you feeling at this moment? So if in the next 10 to 15 minutes or 15 minutes, if we can take you from where you're feeling right now and be super aware of where you're feeling right now, what's going on, breathe it in. And then we get to the point of 15 minutes from now, maybe you feel a little more aware or better, then I did my job. I'm not here to tell you to do more things, more work, more to-do lists, more items to check off and to figure out how you're going to fix it or change it. My goal really is just for you to try one thing for tomorrow or later today, just one little thing. I used to like the hashtag one thing, because for us to go from doing a lot from nothing to a lot is very overwhelming. And I'm not here to overwhelm you. I'm here to keep you feeling good and simplifying things a little bit so you can leave, this entire seminar. I know we're going to be talking about the physical, part of mental health, physical part of wellness. I really want to focus on what's happening in here, and it's all interconnected, right? So I invite you, because I feel like I'm going really quickly right now. I'm talking really quickly, so I think I need this even for me. I invite you all to take a deep breath. And if you want to, I know some of you, maybe if you're driving or whatnot, obviously don't close your eyes. But take a deep breath and just breathe in and center yourself and breathe in again. Let it go. And I always like to do 3. So we're going to do one more really deep. Let it go. So I had told Nicole and Ahmed that I was going to light a candle. I know we're not in the same room, but I like to light a candle just to kind of get that serenity feel, right? That serenity, the light, bring in the light, bring in the, so if you can see my candle here, I'm going to light it. I know you can't smell it. It's a mango scent, but just to set the tone, because like I said in the beginning, I really don't want to overwhelm anybody with things that we're going to do. I am going to give you a checklist. I'm going to put it up in a few minutes of things that you can do to have a better year. That's what this is all about, right? Starting off the year, having a better year. But the most important thing that I want you to walk away with is that every day is a new day. We don't need January 1st, 2023 to have a fresh start or to do something better for ourselves. We can start just in the next moment, in the next minute, in the next part of the day, or the next morning, or right now. So if you're feeling, I don't know about you, but I'm in New York and it's a little gloomy. If I look out the window, if I open my drapes, it's a little gloomy and it's a little dark, and it's very easy to get stuck in the muck. So when Nicole had mentioned that she's doing start the new year on the right foot, so what's the best way that we can all start a better new year, or a better day, or a better moment, like I mentioned? And the first thing that popped into my head is self-care. And I'm not going to talk about self-care, the things that you all know. Oh, you got to put your mask on first. Yes, you have to put your mask on first on the airplane, right? Before you put it on a child or somebody else. Yes, you have to fill your well first before you pour into somebody else's glass. All those things. We all know self-care, but it's like, how do I actually implement it into my day? How do I make it useful? We all know that we need to do things for ourselves and take time for ourselves, and that's important, right? I'm assuming we all know that self-care is important. But how? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the how. So first, I'm going to talk about some of the things that you can do, and then I'm going to talk about how we're going to do this. So I want you to take another breath and know that I'm not going to give you any homework, no additional work to do. There's nothing for you to do. I would like for you to focus right on this moment, right listening to what I'm saying right now, and just being present to yourself and to what's happening in this exact moment. Maybe there's some distractions. I know my dog just barked. Maybe you're in the office. Maybe there's a lot of things that are on your mind. I invite you to focus in, like a mindfulness technique, to just focus in on this moment. You took time out today for this, hour session to really be present for yourself. So take advantage of it. This is your time. And this is one thing I always like to tell clients, and when I do presentations, meet yourself where you are. You're not going to be a pro at practicing self-care if you're not doing anything for yourself right now. So meet yourself where you are, and just know that you can change little things along the way. Not everything's going to happen overnight. So are we all ready to look at the self-care checklist? And I promise you, you don't have to do all these things. Okay. All right. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Can we see the self-care checklist? Yes. Okay. Good. Get a little bigger. There we go. Okay. So the checklist is just something as a reference that I like to share with people, different things that we can do. I'm actually going to start from the bottom. We're very used to starting at the top, but it makes sense to start from the bottom. Did you know that the happiest people on this planet are people that practice self-compassion? So I invite you to the last heart on the bottom is to be kind to yourself. We have all been through a lot in the past several years, right? It's now 3 years of lots of changes. Maybe you've had changes before that. Maybe you had changes 10 years ago. I don't know. But we're human beings. So we're going to have change in our life, adversity, grief, positive things happen. Maybe you're moving. Maybe you got a new job. Maybe you had a baby. Life is the only, right? The quote, the only thing consistent in life is change. So if we're not taking care of ourselves, then it's very hard to cope with change. And the way to take care of yourself is to have little practices that build. So when life really happens and it gets really hard, you have little practices that you can depend upon. And these are just minor things, but sometimes the little things can make a big difference in your day. So for the sake of time, I'm definitely going to go through these all, but I'm going to kind of like go over them. And then if you have questions after at the end of the session, feel free to ask. So like I said, be kind to yourself. We never want to tackle too much. We don't want to try to do too much. I think I've drilled that into all of you. We don't want to do too much and overwork ourselves when we get overwhelmed with trying to practice self-care. So if you look at the list, I talk about an action plan. I talk about managing expectations, practicing gratitude, creating something that a mantra or a phrase or gesture that means something to you, adding joy to your day, setting up a plan with devices, and being kind to yourself. Woof! Sounds like a lot. It is when you read down the list. Wow, I wrote a lot in that list, right? So I want you to meet yourself where you are, like I said before, and be kind to yourself. When you're practicing something new, it takes time, just like a child who's learning to walk. When a child learns to walk, we've all seen little babies, 14 months, 12 months, maybe 9 months, I don't know, trying to walk. And when they take their first step, they're a little wobbly, right? And then they keep going and they keep going and they get a little, and then they fall. And that happens sometimes. So we have to remember, we would always say to a toddler or a little baby that's learning to walk, when they fall, it's okay. It's okay. So remember, whatever you're going through right now, whatever, if you're stressed out, if you feel like you're in a slump, if you feel like you're a little stuck, it's okay. Little changes. Let's not put all this pressure to be like this perfect human being, right? That functions perfectly and is always, getting everything done. It's okay if it doesn't all get done, right? That's self-care, is giving yourself not a ticket to be a sloth, right? And to be lazy and not do anything, but a ticket, an opportunity to say, you know what? I had a long day. I worked, I took the kids, I did this, and you know what? Maybe the dishes will have to wait till the morning. I don't know. Maybe that's gross to some of you, but maybe it's just giving yourself some self-compassion, a little break, and say, you know what? I've been doing pretty good today. I'm going to give myself a little 15 minutes of some quiet time before I move on to the next task. So that's what I talk about, being kind to yourself. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. I'm going to hop on to a plan with devices. I'm going to take out my cell phone because you all have one of these, and it's very easy to get distracted with this. So I just wanted to say that when you think about your cell phone, I want you to think about you leading the cell phone and you taking control over how it distracts you, right? Or doesn't distract you. So that's simple as setting up a little alert that doesn't come through to your phone every time there's something new, right? So think about your social media feeds. Think about what's coming through. Is it positive? Is it negative? Do you need to see that all the time? Setting up a healthy partnership with your cell phone, not falling asleep with your cell phone next to you, right? Not looking at your cell phone immediately after you wake up. So taking some time and a break, maybe from social media, maybe a break from answering calls at a certain time, whatever works for you. Remember, you want to make this doable and something that works for you. Having fun, setting up joy in your day. Sometimes I put also on the list, creating a daily action plan, right? That's also about, when you set up joy, it's like scheduling time in your day to have a little fun. Maybe it's watching something funny on YouTube, like a funny comedian. Maybe it's calling up a friend that makes you laugh, or somebody that really relates to you. Or maybe it's just adding joy to your day. Maybe you love walking. Maybe it's just taking a little walk around the building at work. So scheduling things that make you feel good, a song. If you really like a song, then you play it a little bit and shift your mood a little bit. So I'm still going up the list. creating a mantra. Just, I know we have a lot of cameras off, but I ask this question a lot. Do you have a quote or a phrase or a go-to that kind of lifts your spirits? If you don't, you may want to consider something that will kind of shift your energy a little bit, right? So something that I always used to like to say, it's a song. It's like, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. And I used to say these things to myself, like, you got this, right? Even the littlest things, like, you can get through this for today. For today, you can get through this. Or I wrote a book called I Am, something like, I am good enough for today. Maybe it's just a simple one, like, just do it, right? Like Nike, maybe simple, just do it. If you have, maybe it's a little phrase or a mantra that really gets you going, right? So try to think of these things, or a gesture, right? Maybe it's, or slap your hand, on the mirror, give yourself a high five. Maybe it's a gesture that makes you feel good. These little tips will help you feel better in the long run. And it doesn't sound like, oh, that's self-care. Yes, boosting yourself up, being your own cheerleader is self-care. I want you to manage your expectations with people, with places, with everything. When we set, I'm not saying not to set expectations on yourself or to be not shoot for the stars, but we have to also remember that we only can control ourselves, right? We don't even have control over our children. Can you believe it? What I mean is, we can't control other people, places, and things. And when you let go of trying to control everything, and you're like, I can control how I react, I can control what I share, and I can't expect other people to be a certain way all the time, right? A certain way. And we accept people for who they are, and and not trying to control, and we manage expectations of what other people are or their actions, and we look at how we can react. It can bring a sense of peace. So managing expectations also of yourself, when if you're being super hard on yourself. I've been bringing this up a lot because I find that we're very hard on ourselves, and sometimes we would we can just let go a little bit of being so hard on ourselves, and accept that we can do the best we can for today. So it's all the self-talk, right? The self-talk of what are we feeding ourselves today, right? Not the food. I mean, like, what kind of self-talk? Am I waking up and saying, oh, good morning, or oh, good morning, a new day? Something that I also wanted to speak about was gratitude, and I'm going to wrap it up in a minute, is gratitude. Gratitude, I have a little gratitude journal here. And if you think about gratitude, you can't be negative and grateful at the same time. So if you practice a little bit of gratitude every day, if you just get like a little book, and if you practice something like that you're grateful for, very specific, not like, oh, I'm just grateful for my family and friends. You could be, but maybe being specific. I'm grateful for my friend Judy because she drove me to work today. I'm grateful for the water that's coming out of my sink that is now filtered water, or I'm grateful for the candle that I have that I'm able to light. And the more gratitudes we share on a daily basis, the better we feel about our day, about ourselves. A person who has an attitude of gratitude usually has a better day than if you're just, oh, this stinks. Those people. Oh, this is so tiring. Oh, I'm so exhausted. So now you're looking at all these things that I just shared with you. I want you to look into your day today, and this is my call of action. And I want you to schedule time. It's 3:25. I want you to schedule time for the second half of the day. We're in the second half of the day, of one little thing that you can do for yourself for today. That is part of your daily action plan. And I talk a lot about your schedule and routine and all this, but I'm just asking you to do one thing. Maybe it's shutting your cell phone on mute. Maybe it's taking a breathing break practicing a little gratitude. So if you can practice a little bit more self-care, leading yourself into this year, leading yourself, leaning into 2023, I promise you that you'll have a better day, and all those days will lead to a better year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alina. That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I came across a quote a few years ago, and I talk about it in my family a lot. It is, uh, it's not that grateful people are happy, it's happy people are grateful.
Ooh, that's
So
a good
it
one.
actually brings happiness. So really good. Thank you.
That's a good one.
Maria says, thank you, Alina.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Any questions or anything you want to add that can help all of us? Please feel free. Okay. Well, if you have questions or you have comments, you can also save them to the end. Now I'm going to introduce Ahmed Ahmed, who is going to talk a little bit more about the physical things to make our year, life, day better and more pain-free. So Ahmed Ahmed is the founder of a personal training service based out of Uniondale called Lotus Fitness, where they specialize in helping people with aches and discomfort to move and exercise pain-free. So without further ado, take it away, Ahmed.
Oh, yeah. So this is all true. Thank you, Nicole. And speaking of gratitude, I am grateful to be here with all of you today. And I actually have a small ask before we get started. If it's possible, if you don't mind turning on your cameras, that would be great, just because I find that people get more value out of this and they can make some real changes quicker if they get a chance to really engage with this presentation today. So if you can, please turn on your cameras. Thank you. Thank you there. I really appreciate that, because here's the challenge, right? At the end of this presentation, 70% of what I said is going to be forgotten. And that's just how things are, right? And so if we get a chance to speak and go through this together, I'd love to start this journey with you all. And so let's get started. So I'm going to share my screen. I have some slides for all of you. And today we're going to talk about how to move and exercise pain-free. But before I get into that, I'd really would love to know from you all, who has been exercising for a long time? If you are, just leave it down in the chat and just comment 1, put down a 1 in the chat. I'll be looking over at this chat here. Oh, okay. Maria, Nicole, Alina, very cool. Alina, do you mind coming off mute for a second?
Hi.
Hi. If you don't mind me asking, why do you exercise?
Well, years ago, I think it was more because I was an athlete, and now more so I used to do it. I used to think it was more for like weight loss, and then I got more into trying to have more of a balanced, I have to get better at it, like we talked about habits, a balanced exercising just more for energy and to feel more flexible, because I'm in my 40s now.
Got it.
So
Got
it
it.
helps.
So I just thank you, Alina. I learned a lot about you there. I was an athlete myself growing up, playing a lot of soccer and everything, and I get it. Flexibility is important, moving well, all that stuff is important. And so, how many of you have ever been hurt from exercise? If that's you, drop a 2 in the chat below. A 2. Nicole, okay. Denise, yeah. Alina, it happens. Anya, yeah. Thank you so much for that feedback. It happens, right? And so the question is, should you be hurt from exercise? Hopefully we all agree that no, we shouldn't, right? Exercise is meant to help us improve our health, not take away from it and hurt us, right? And so very quickly, before I jump into all the information, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, right? First of all, Nicole, I appreciate you having me here. It's a little bit about myself. I was one of those kids growing up who would wear a shirt at the beach. I was chubby and I looked actually like adorable in middle school, like meaning my cheeks were really fat and everything. And going into high school, I didn't want to look adorable and chubby anymore because, I wanted to start making some new friends and talking to girls and all that kind of stuff. And I was feeling so low on confidence because I went from this really small middle school to this really big high school. And I had all this social anxiety. I didn't like the way that I looked at my body. And then I started getting into exercise and nutrition and all that stuff. And by the time high school was done, I was a new person. I went into college feeling like $1,000,000 and I could go up and talk to people, and exercise became such a religious part of my life. I started doing this crazy thing called CrossFit, and then I eventually ended up hurting myself really badly. So if any of you know anybody who has done CrossFit, that's probably a story that they would tell you too. But the point is that I hurt my back really badly and I couldn't find any comfortable positions. I remember at the time it was finals week. I was trying to sit down and study, but nothing was comfortable. I couldn't even sleep. It was so bad. I was walking funny and everything. So I couldn't even sit and study. I definitely couldn't have exercised. And so I started thinking about all the bad stuff that could happen from not exercising. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my confidence. It's like my confidence was tied up to exercise and the way that I looked. But then I realized that I couldn't do the thing that I loved because of the way that my back felt. And I needed to find a solution. I needed to find a solution quick. So what did I do? I ended up going to this chiropractor who became a personal trainer. And so I was interested because I knew that if I just went to a doctor, they would probably say something like, wait or rest. When you get back, don't do the exercise that you were doing before. And that's all stuff that I didn't want to hear because I loved exercising. I loved doing CrossFit and I loved feeling the way that I felt with my community there and loved the way that I felt after the workouts. And so it was really, the last thing I wanted to hear was for me to stop doing the stuff that I loved. And so this chiropractor ended up showing me that exercise wasn't just about helping you look good, but it can help you feel really good. And then that's when I was bit by the bug. I started taking anatomy classes, biomechanics, and physics, and started really figuring out how this can all happen. And I want to share with you what I've learned over the past few years so that you guys can move and exercise pain-free. So I'm going to jump in here because to move and exercise pain-free, first we need to figure out what pain even really is, right? And so pain is an accumulation of information that goes to your brain, and then your brain decides pain, right? And it's important, the word that I said there was information, right? Later on, I'll show you how we can change the information so that you can potentially stop feeling pain. But first, I want to talk a little bit how this pain even happens. So I'm using these slides here, and excuse me as I go through this, but the hidden problem of pain is asymmetry, right? And so before we talk about asymmetry, let's talk about symmetry really quick. Symmetry is this idea that if you cut something down through the middle, it looks exactly the same, the right side and the left side. If you think about things that move, like cars or bikes, and you split them down the middle, they look exactly the same from the right to the left, right? Or they should. I had an old 1999 Nissan Altima. The right side definitely did not look like the left side. But anyway, so asymmetry of posture, asymmetry of range of motion, asymmetry of strength, asymmetry of endurance, all this stuff could be resulting in pain because we're designed to be as symmetrical as humanly possible. Because when we're symmetrical, what happens is we can move more efficiently, right? If you have a tire in your car and one of them doesn't have as much air as all the other tires, that car isn't going to be moving as efficiently, and then bad things could happen to that car. Same exact thing here, right? But now the question is, how does this asymmetry even happen? Okay. And so I want to talk to you about the skill of pain. If you've ever stepped on a Lego, you realize pretty quickly, A, that it hurts, and then B, that you'll change the way that you move a little bit. Another example of this is I want you guys to imagine that you have a pebble in your shoe. Now, if you had a pebble in your shoe, you would move differently, right? Because your body's going to say, I don't want to step on that pebble anymore because I know that my foot is going to hurt. I'm probably going to get blisters, so on and so forth. But the good news is if you had a pebble in your shoe and then you took it off at the end of the day and you just switch shoes the next day, you're probably just going to be fine. But imagine you wore that same shoe every single day. It was the only shoe you had for some reason. And you stepped on that pebble every day. You would never, ever get rid of that blister, and you would change the way that you moved forever. And so this is what pain does. And this is the challenge, because people get pain in certain areas, and then your body tries to figure out, how can I move while not feeling pain? And then we have these compensations that our body does to try to move around this, which short term is actually genius, but long term could lead to a whole host of issues. So what are those issues? The consequences of asymmetry are twofold. The first thing that I want to talk about is fatigue and tightness surrounding these muscles that are a result of asymmetry, right? Because I want you to think about asymmetry like this. Imagine I was walking like this all day, or I was sitting like this all day. Eventually, what's going to happen is the muscles that bring me into this position, they're going to get tired, right? Another example of this is if you're holding a grocery bag. If you're holding a grocery bag in your right arm, eventually what you want to do after your muscles start getting tired is move it to the left arm. But say you couldn't hold it in your left arm for some reason. Well, that right arm is going to get really tired, right? And it's sort of like if you've ever done a group project in school. Nicole was talking about, like, in the beginning of college classes and having that presentation up on the board. Well, it's sort of like when you're in college and you have a group project to do, and you have 3 people that are supposed to do the work. So 33%, right? Everybody's supposed to do a piece of the group project. But then say last minute, the person who was supposed to do their part ended up canceling and they didn't do their part. The 2 other people in the group are now going to have to do more work, and they're angry. So all of this is happening, and the same thing happens within your body. The next thing is this uneven wear and tear that can start happening. So this word alignment gets thrown around a lot, right? And so your bones are like puzzle pieces. They're supposed to fit and stack into each other really well. The problem is when they don't. And here's how I want you to think about this. Imagine there's a 100-pound magician laying down on 100 nails. That magician would be just fine, just because of the fact that 100 pounds, 100 nails, 1 pound per nail, fine. But say that same 100-pound magician laid down on 4 nails. What would happen? 25 pounds on 1 nail, not good news. Those nails would pierce through his skin, right? And so something very similar happens within the body when things aren't aligned, where what I mean is that other places, your bones take a whole lot more force because they're not aligned. And so when you have this unevenness, what starts to happen is instead of your bones being stacked on top of each other like this, what starts to happen is they start to look like this. And then this area, the friction, it starts causing wear and tear a lot faster in this area. And then that's when things like osteoarthritis starts happening. And that's when pain starts happening. And so what can we do? We can exercise, right? Before I get into this though, if you can drop in the chat below just any name of any exercise you've ever done or you've ever heard of. Just drop a name of an exercise in the chat below. Excuse me here as I do this here. I'm trying to look at the chat. Sit-ups. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Bridging, squats. Yeah, so many good ones there. Thank you. Burpees. Whoa, Denise, are you a CrossFitter? Burpees are the worst. Leg lifts. Thank you, Anya. Yoga. Yeah, all these are great. All these are great. All these are exercises. What if I told you that I don't think about exercises as named things? What if I told you that there's no such thing as exercise? Okay, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but exercise, what it really is it's physics, forces, pushes and pulls on your anatomy, on your bones and muscles and ligaments and tendons and all that stuff, right? And so really, these names of exercises that we all know and that we all love to do, they describe a certain choreography, but choreography isn't what's important when it comes down to exercise. What really is important is how the physics is influencing your anatomy and what changes can happen as a result of all of that, okay? So in the gym, we use things like exercise machines, we use free weights like those dumbbells or cardio equipment, and we do all that to affect our anatomy, to affect our body. right? All of these things, cardio, exercise machines, free weights, they're all very much alike. And when I say this, sometimes people look at me and they think I'm a bit crazy, but the difference between cardio and doing things like weightlifting isn't actually as vast as people think it is. And the reason for that is this. Cardio is, for example, biking, you're pushing down the pedal. And so there's the resistance of the pedal and your foot has to push it down to move it. Your leg is moving weight. The same thing happens on an exercise machine. It's just how many times it happens, right? And so force and anatomy, that's all that matters when it comes to making changes in your body. So the reason why exercise is so helpful is because it combats this asymmetry thing, and it can create symmetry within your body. And for us to move as efficiently as possible and to feel as good as possible, to move better and feel better, creating symmetry is so important. And so what can help us do that? Muscles, right? And so I like to ask this question a lot of people. Are muscles more like ropes or like elastic bands? Drop it in the chat below. Give me a 1 if you think they're like ropes. Give me a 2 if you think they're like elastic bands. Okay, 2. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Maria. Yeah, like elastic bands there. Got it. Yeah, Alina, you said 2. Denise, you said 2. Great, great. Yeah, and I appreciate that input there. And I thought it was 2 for a really long time. What I ended up finding out through studying this stuff was that they're more like ropes. And here's what I mean. Bands, they're stretchy, right? The material of our muscle itself, meaning the stuff that our muscle is made out of, is more like ropes. Ropes, say I had a rope that can handle 100 pounds. Now, if I put a weight at the end of that rope and that weight was 99 pounds, the rope would be a-okay, right? But say I kind of messed with the rope a little bit and I lengthened it and it got a little bit less thick. What would end up happening is that rope, instead of taking 100 pounds or being able to handle 100 pounds, could now only handle 98 pounds. And then that 99 pounds on the rope is going to damage the rope. And so why am I saying this? Because your muscles can be damaged if too much force gets put on the muscle, right? And so this is part of the reason why I asked if you've ever gotten hurt from exercise. Well, this is one of the things that could happen. If there's too much force on a muscle, you can damage the muscle. And as you notice, I was saying the rope lengthens means bad. This kind of goes into the conversation that I have with people where I say to them, stop stretching. And the reason I say that is because stretching is you putting your muscles in a lengthened position and trying to move in that lengthened position. So that stretch that you feel, muscles can shorten and muscles can lengthen, is your muscles in a lengthened position. And that feeling that you get is actually your brain saying, please don't go any further, because I can rip like that rope that can rip when it loses its structure, okay? And then muscles are smart. They can learn very, very quickly. Why is this useful? Because we can make changes to your body very quickly, because muscles can change the way that they produce strength very quickly as well. Muscles are also like dimmer switches. We can turn them on and we can turn them off. And the good news with this is that if you have a history of exercise in your past, your brain remembers that, and then it makes things easier in the future. And so what do I mean by this? If any of you have ever exercised consistently and then you went on vacation and then you came back to exercise, what you may have noticed is that when you came back, you weren't capable of doing exactly the same stuff, or your muscles didn't feel exactly the same. But then maybe a couple of days later, you felt like you were back up to speed. And the reason for that is because your muscles remember the stuff that goes on. Okay. And so we can turn on your muscles. And what we're going to do right now actually is turn your muscles on. Okay. So here's what I want all of you to do. I'm going to ask you to do a little exercise. Okay. So if you can sit at the edge of your chair, and then if you could go like this, what we're going to do is we're going to twist our upper bodies and upper bodies only as far as we can to the left. So I'm twisting my upper body. Once you're there, hang out there for a second. Notice what you're feeling. Notice how far you moved. And then come back to the middle. Okay. And then turn to the right as far as you can. Notice how you feel. Notice how things are going there. Come back to the middle. Okay, maybe this isn't the case with any of you, but if you felt a difference between turning to the right and turning to the left, drop a 1 in the chat below. Maybe not. Oh, okay, Denise did. Maria, Denise. Okay, great. Sounds like I'm saying Denise twice, but we have 2 Denises today, which is awesome. Anya, okay, great. Great. Yeah. So you're not alone, obviously, right? A lot of people have these asymmetries, and it is what it is, right? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? It really depends, right? But what we're going to do is I want you to go to the side that didn't feel as smooth, and we're actually going to go to that position, and then we're going to squeeze all of our muscles really tight for 5 seconds. Okay, so I'm going to do it with you. Okay. So for me, turning to the left didn't feel as smooth. So I'm about to turn to the left. Do this with me. I'm about to turn to the left. And then when I'm here, I'm going to squeeze all my muscles really tight and try getting an extra inch, but really smoothly. If this doesn't feel good, stop. But if it does, hold for another 3, 2, 1. Come back to the middle. Okay. So I don't know about you guys, but I was starting to get a little crampy there. And so what we're about to do in a second is we're going to test the right side and the left side once again. So for now, what I want you to do is I want you to go to the opposite side of the side that you just did the exercise on. So I went to the left. So now what I would do is I would go to the right. Okay. So I'm going to go to the right, get to that end position. Notice how I feel. Notice how far I went. And then I'm going to come back to the middle. Great. And then I'm going to go to the left as far as I can. Notice how I feel. Notice how far I went. And then I'm going to come back. Okay. So the side that you did the hold on, the one where I was like, okay, 3, 2, 1, let's hold this position, squeeze your muscles. Did anybody notice, or what did you notice that was different, if anything, that second time around? If you can come off of mute and just let me know, that would be
It got
really great.
easier. It was
It got
smoother.
it got easier, Nicole. Smooth. Did anybody else have that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
felt like it was easier too. And I went
It
further.
it was easier and you went further. Okay, great. Anya, did you have that experience? You can just shake your head if you'd like. I saw you doing it there. Oh,
Not
you're
as
on mute.
We're not as stiff.
When I turned to the right, I felt like I was more flexible, like it was the muscle was stretching. When I turned to the left, it was like a stiffer feeling that I couldn't go as flexibly or as stretchingly.
Got it. Well put, Anya. Thank you. And
Am I
so you
making
felt
sense? Did I make sense?
100%. Yeah, 100%. You noticed the difference between the right side and the left side. Left side wasn't feeling as good as the right side. And then Denise mentioned that it was feeling a little bit easier that second time around. And so that's really cool, right? Because we literally held it for like 5 to 10 seconds, and we can make changes really that quite quick. Okay, so I'm going to quickly finish off here because I know I'm almost running out of time, but this is one of my clients, and she had some knee pain. She was feeling low on energy. Now she's saying she feels younger. And so what do I do with my clients? So this is one of the things that I do with my clients. I basically build a physical representation of their bodies because everybody's body is different. When I create these physical representations, this is one of one. There is no research study. There are no protocols that tell me what to do with this person, right? And so what do I need to do? I need to take my understanding of biomechanics, physics, this person's history, this person's exercise experience, this person's pain, and I need to put all that stuff together so I can come up with a plan. And so what did I notice with this person? Well, there were some areas here. And so by the way, these arrows are the differences in the way that people feel. So for example, she couldn't turn to the right as much as she could to the left in this example, right? And the stuff on the right here in the dark is the postural changes. Her left shoulder looked a little bit like this compared to her right shoulder. I'm exaggerating here, but these are the postural changes that we can see in people, and we can make some changes to the way that people move and the way that they feel in their bodies. And so what I noticed with her specifically is there was less range of motion and strength in the left knee, hip, and ankle, in extending and flexing, which just means moving the knee forward, like straightening it out and bending it. Same thing with the ankle, kind of bringing the top of the foot towards the shin and then away from the shin, pointing the toes. There was less range of motion and turning. And so what we did is created some specific exercises with these pieces in mind so that she can move better and feel better. And so I'm going to leave you off with these 3 tips so that you can start moving better and feeling better immediately. Number 1, resistance training. Okay. And so what is resistance training? Well, we just did resistance training. We were using our body's weight to resist the motion and turning, right? And so when you do resistance training, what I have here is through a full range of motion. A full range of motion is just how far or the positions that your body can get in, right? So for example, my range of motion of my elbow here, I can bend this far and I can straighten this far. So that's the range of motion here. So when I say go through a full range of motion, as opposed to stopping like this, when I have more that I can bend, what I prefer for you to do to get a great benefit here is to bend all the way and straighten all the way. And then that way you'll get strong in so many more different positions, which means that you can move better and then ultimately feel better. Number 2, manage your daily activities. If you know after 10 minutes, your back hurts when you walk, when you go for a walk next time, walk for 5 minutes and then rest and then maybe do another 5 minutes later. Okay. And then the last thing is do single arm and single leg exercises. Why? Because you may find that there are differences between that right side and the left side. And so why would you do a bilateral or a symmetrical exercise if the stuff doing the exercise isn't symmetrical to begin with, right? What doing a symmetrical exercise on a asymmetrical base can do is it can make the problems worse over time. Instead, do single arm or single leg exercises so that you can stop that from happening, so that you can get closer to symmetrical, so that your posture can improve, so that you can move better, get stronger, and feel better. All right, I'm going to leave you off with a little gift as a thank you for coming today. I'm going to drop in the chat here, I'm going to drop a chance for you to win a complimentary consultation, assessment, and report of findings, $350 value. But I'm going to offer one person who fills out this raffle ticket in the chat below the chance to do it all on me. And so thank you so much for having me here. If you guys would like to find me, you want to do some more follow along exercises, join my free Facebook group. It's Lotus Fitness Pain-Free Exercise Community. There's all my contact information. And once again, I appreciate being here today and hope to see you all move and exercise pain-free. Really, I do all this so that everybody can do the things that they love with the people that they love. So if you'd like to get started on that journey, fill out that raffle ticket for a chance to win. Thank you so much once again.
Excellent, Ahmed. Thank you. Thank you. And everybody that saw it on Facebook, I said it's easier than winning the Mega Millions and and a lifetime of benefit. So again, thank you, Alina. Thank you, Ahmed. Do we have any questions? Let me just see. Don't forget to get that form because this will be recorded on a replay, but you may not have, you won't see the chat. So it's now or never. So make sure you, and if you, I don't know, just do it now while I'm talking. I'm not saying anything important. Anyway, thank you all for being here. And thank you so much, Ahmed and Alina, again, for being our guests this at this webinar. I think everybody got a lot from only one winner. Thank you. I think everybody got a lot from it. I know I did. I've actually heard Ahmed speak before, but I still learn something new every time I hear you. So thank you for that. And tune in, everybody. Next month, there'll be another interesting topic. And so we'll hope to see you again there. I'll keep it on for a little while without recording. Ahmed, stay on for just a little bit, just so that they can fill out, give you a little extra time to fill out those forms.